Perfect. Awesome. All right. Thanks so much, Brittany. Really appreciate that introduction. So fun. I see some familiar names in the chat. So great to have everyone here today. Before I get into any content, before I get into any introduction, I just want to say thank you so much for being here today and putting aside the time for this workshop. Can everyone see my screen okay? Just give me a thumbs up in the chat if you can see me, you can hear me. Awesome. Okay, perfect. Thanks so much. So thanks so much for joining me today. I know that especially at this time of the year, there's so many different things competing for our attention. And so the fact that you've taken time out of your day and your schedule to attend this workshop means a lot to me. And I promise you're going to get a lot of value out of it. We're going to treat this workshop as a true workshop. So it's going to be a working session where you're actually going to leave this session with some concrete goals for your business that you can start to implement today. And so I promise you will be walking away with something that is super tangible, that is super concrete. So I'm just going to start off by introducing myself really quickly, and then Brittany will introduce herself. So my name is Krista Kolodziejzyk. That's how you pronounce that last name. Sounds a lot easier than it looks. I'm a registered dietitian. I have a master's of public health, and I also have an MBA, and I am the founder of Dietitian Success Center. I'll talk about DSC in a second here. But I am Canadian born. I am a full-time entrepreneur, like Brittany mentioned at the beginning. We both reside in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, out near the mountains. This is my family on the right-hand side here, my husband, Paul, and my dog, Chandler. If you are a Friends fan, then you will know the name Chandler. I am also an endurance athlete. I'm a huge runner. I love to get out in the mountains and do trail running whenever I can. And I am absolutely obsessed with baking. Bread has been my new project over the last year. So trying to really refine those sourdough skills. And then about me as a business owner. So like I mentioned, I'm the founder of Dietitian Success Center. And so DSC, our mission is to be the online hub for evidence and practice-based nutrition resources for registered dietitians and health practitioners. You can feel free to check us out as one of the bonuses for this session. We'll be providing a free trial to the site. So we'll give you the link for that at the end. But in the meantime, please feel free to follow me on Instagram at Dietitian Success Center. And if you are a fan of podcasting, I also am the host of a podcast called the Dietitian Success Podcast, where I really just talk about business and entrepreneurship every single week. So if you are interested in some free information, free advice with regards to business entrepreneurship, then feel free to tune into the podcast. I publish every week on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcast. And I will pass it on over to Brittany to introduce herself, and then we'll get into the goal setting content.
Yeah, thanks so much, Krista. Normally I introduce Practice Better. I don't talk as much about myself, so it's kind of fun to share with the group today a little bit more about me and my background. I actually spent 12 years working in real estate in a really customer-centric role, of course, where customer experience was really paramount to me. And then 10 years ago, started my journey into the health and wellness space and became a registered holistic nutritionist. And it was really kind of fun to see what kind of carried over from the real estate world with the really high-level touch point customer experience side of things and how I can blend those together. And then in 2020, I actually joined Practice Better, where I just felt like there was a really strong alignment between, my passion for customer experience and Practice Better's core values. So that is like the very brief cliff notes of my background. A little bit about me. I know Krista shared about some of her personal things. I'm a hobby ceramicist. I love to play with clay and make stuff out of clay. So I do a lot of that, lots of different kind of artsy things. Also love getting out into nature. I think that's like part of being a Calgarian is taking advantage of the beautiful nature around us. But let's talk a little bit more about Practice Better. Practice Better is a practice management software designed for practitioners and their clients. So if you're not familiar, we were actually a platform created by a practitioner for practitioners. So we really know the importance of systems and strategies to set yourself up for success in your business. So we provide the tools not only to make your day-to-day run smoothly, so the things like scheduling, invoicing, but also delivering an exceptional client experience, things like your actual meetings and facilitating group programs, courses, workshops, things like we're kind of doing today, but also delivering protocols, providing that ongoing support. But we also, a side of us is providing this amazing insight into the behind the scenes of your business to help you take it to the next level. And that's kind of what we're discussing today is, how can we formulate goals to take our business to the next level? So what kind of insights can you pull from Practice Better is really going to assist you in creating those goals and working towards them. So we are all about simplifying your tech stack, simplifying your day-to-day, and just helping you take it to the next level. So Krista, I will let you kick it off with our workshop today, all about goals, and then we'll kind of come back later and show how we can use Practice Better.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Perfect. All right, so let's get into the content. Let's get into the work session here. Sorry if you heard my dog barking in the background. He goes absolutely nuts whenever anyone comes to the door. All right, so goals. As somebody who is a full-time entrepreneur, as somebody who works with dietitians and practitioners every day to help them start and grow businesses, I know how important the idea of goal setting is. And it's something that we teach our clients about all the time, right? We teach our clients, we teach our patients, but sometimes we neglect to take a step back and actually set goals for ourselves and for our businesses. So I would love to just hear in the chat, how many people currently set goals in their business? And you can just say yes in the chat, no, you can say sometimes, whatever you want. Whatever word makes the most sense for you. But I would love to hear from everyone who currently sets goals in their business. Okay, awesome. We're getting some yeses. We're getting some sometimeses. We're getting some mostlys. Yeah, inconsistently. I totally feel that for sure. Awesome. Okay, cool. Sometimes inconsistent. Yeah, totally fair. You are among friends here. Okay, so I would love to hear then, as a follow-up to that, how frequently do you set goals in your business? If you're one of those people that is a yes, a sometimes, an inconsistent, how frequently on average do you tend to set goals in your business? Jill, thank you for your honesty. I appreciate that. All over the map. I totally get that. Okay, Jennifer says monthly. Awesome. Perfect. Okay. Love it. Review monthly. So best time sounds like sort of the beginning of the year. That's great. Review monthly and look at quarterly. Awesome. Raina says too often, can't always follow through on everything. Yeah, I totally relate to that. Totally relate to that. Cool. Very cool. Thank you for sharing. And last question is, what is your biggest challenge when it comes to goal setting, specifically in your business? So your biggest challenge when it comes to goal setting. Ooh, yeah, making it realistic. Totally. Samantha says, there's so much I want to do. Wafa says, working on those goals. Yeah, so it's one thing to set a goal, but then actually putting that goal into action is a completely different thing. Emma says, breaking goals down into smaller, more tangible goals, follow through, knowing what to prioritize. Awesome. Okay. So we're going to talk about all of these things today. We're going to try and address all of these challenges so that hopefully you feel like you have a bit of a better sense of how to set those realistic goals in your business. All right, so what this workshop is and is not. So I'm not just going to drone on and talk about how to set SMART goals. I know you are a group of practitioners that teach people how to set SMART goals every day, but what we are going to do today is we're just going to hold that space because I know our calendars get really get filled up like especially at this time of the year. And so we're holding that space to do some reflection for your own personal and professional development. So in terms of today's agenda, I'm going to start by talking about how do we set realistic goals? So I know that was a challenge that a few people mentioned. How do we know what is realistic? To move your business forward, we're going to do our goal setting activity. I'm going to give you a number of examples of goals. I'm going to talk about different categories of goals that we can set in our business and what might be the most appropriate for you based on if you're a beginner, if you're intermediate, or if you're a little bit more advanced in your business. And then what we're going to talk about is really the implementation piece. How do we build systems around our goals? So how do we ensure that they actually happen? How do we ensure that we make them happen? And then I'm going to pass it over to Brittany. She's going to talk a little bit about practice better and how we can use practice better to achieve goals. And then at the very end, what we're going to do is we're going to do a little exercise where we choose a word for the year. And essentially what that is it's a word that really embodies what we want our intention to be for this year. So it's a really fun activity. I've done it for the past few years, and I feel like it really helps with getting that focus and again, that intention so that we can hit the ground running. And so we'll wrap up with that exercise. And then at the very end, we have a number of bonuses and prizes for you. So make sure and stick around. All right. So why do we goal set? Well, and I don't know if you all can relate. This is truly me speaking from personal experience. This was not a hard slide to create because I would say at the very beginning of my business, all of these things were pretty characteristic. You know, I was the type of person that was getting things done sort of last minute or maybe not at all. I wasn't able to think super strategically about my business because I was so hung up in the day-to-day and I was so stuck in those day-to-day tasks that I wasn't actually taking the time to take a step back and really think about the next 3 months, 6 months, the next year. I was scrambling to get projects done. I was doing a lot of procrastination. So how many of us have said, oh, you know, I'm going to make sure and get this done in this quarter. I'm going to make sure and set up my email list. I'm going to launch my online course. I'm going to finish my website. I'm going to do all of these things. And then all of a sudden that time has passed and we're like, oh no, I didn't do it. Right? I'm sure we've all been there. I've been there many, many times. When in reality, when we take that's really the important piece to all of this, to goal setting, is it gives us that structured plan and it gives us that opportunity to take a step back, to look at our business and to look forward and be a little bit more strategic. And I really feel like when we have something concrete in our mind that we are looking to achieve and we think about it every single day, we are so much more likely to achieve it. It gives us that goalpost. And I think that's one of the most challenging things in business is that there's nobody telling you what to do. There's nobody giving you due dates. There's nobody saying, hey, this is our priority for this quarter. You as the business owner, as the leader, really need to step into that role. And so that's where goal setting is really helpful. It helps us to take a step back and really look ahead and get a little bit more strategic. Okay, so let's get into some business goal setting. Now, I'm just really quickly going to review this. I'm sure all of you have seen this in a number of ways, but when we talk about goal setting, we really need to make sure that we are setting smart goals, right? So our goals need to be specific, they need to be measurable, they need to be achievable, they need to be realistic, and they need to be timely or time sensitive. So these rules still apply when we are setting goals in our own businesses. So I'm just going to run through a quick example and show you how this example here meets all those criteria for a SMART goal. So I will enroll 5 ideal clients into my signature program by the end of June 2023. So this is very specific and it's very measurable, right? We are putting a specific number out there into the world. We're saying, I'm going to enroll 5 ideal clients. It's measurable because either we've hit 5 or we haven't, right? There's no in between. It's either a yes or it's a no. It is attainable. It is realistic. And that's sort of something for you to decide. And we'll talk a little bit about how do we set realistic goals in our business. But, let's say that I am somebody who is currently getting maybe 3 or 4 clients consistently. And so I feel like enrolling 5 ideal clients into my signature program feels very realistic for me. And then it's time bound or it's timely, right? We've put a deadline here. We say this needs to happen, or I want this to happen by the end of June 2023. Or whatever date makes the most sense for you. So that's just a quick review of SMART goals as we get into actually setting goals in our business. So now the question often comes up, well, how big should our goals be? And so I actually like to group business goals into 2 different categories. Now, this first word, has anybody heard the term BHAG before? Oh, great. Okay, awesome. We have a yes. Anybody else? BHAG. Okay, cool. Love that. Nope. Yeah. So if you haven't heard it before, you're probably like, what in the world is she talking about? Okay. So BHAG actually stands for, and this is truly a term used in the business world, it stands for big, hairy, audacious goals, which is hilarious, right? But it's super self-explanatory, right? We're talking big, big goals that are so audacious. When we set them, we think to ourselves, how dare I set this goal? This is so out there. And so that's one category of goals in our business. Yes. So absolutely. Brittany says in the chat, goals that are a stretch. Yes. These are stretch goals. These are things that are big. They tend to be longer term. And then on the other hand, we have our smaller goals. We have our monthly goals. We have our quarterly goals. And so there is absolutely room for both pieces in our business. Today, we're really going to focus on the monthly or the quarterly goals. However, I would absolutely recommend spending some time on those big, hairy, audacious goals. And so one thing that I do in my business, and depending on the type of person you are, you might hear this and you might be like, I'm never going to do this, or maybe you're somebody that will. So I would challenge you to really think big about your business and set aside some time, put together a private Pinterest board, or even just a Google Doc or whatever. You can have an actual physical vision board and put together some images that characterize what you want your future business and what you want your future life to look like. Those I would consider our big, hairy, audacious goals. Those things that we think about in the future and we're like, oh, I would just so love to get there. I would so love to have that. But we know that maybe that's not going to happen in the next quarter or the next month, but it's still really impactful and really important to dream big when it comes to our business. So we're not going to talk too much about setting these big, hairy, audacious goals today. We're really going to focus on those smaller goals, things that you can start working on today, things that you are really planning for over the next 30 days to 3 months. But again, I would totally recommend setting aside some time to set some of these big, hairy, audacious goals. So we're going to really focus on those monthly or quarterly goals. So the question always comes up, okay, when I'm thinking about setting monthly or quarterly goals in my business, how big should those goals be? So personally, and this is a tactic or strategy that I have used and that I teach and that I find works really well, is that when we're thinking about setting a goal in our business, I always recommend start as small as possible. And why do we want to start as small as possible? Well, I feel like, especially when we're at the beginning of our business journeys, it's so important to set goals that we feel like are really realistic and are really attainable for us so that we can achieve them. We feel great about it. We can capitalize on momentum, and then we can set a new goal. And so I would recommend setting more small goals versus setting fewer bigger goals, especially at the very beginning. And so, right, it feels really great to accomplish something. So we want to make sure and use that motivation to propel us to achieve that next goal. And so I really feel like that sweet spot, and again, I'm going to give you some examples here in a minute, but I really feel like that sweet spot is where we feel like our goal is a push, but it's a realistic push, right? We clearly see a path to be able to achieve it. It should feel a little uncomfortable, but again, we see a path to be able to achieve it. We're setting the bar a little bit higher for ourselves. And I say monthly or quarterly because it really depends on the goal when it comes to whether it should be a 30-day goal or whether it should be a quarterly goal. So for example, like in my own business, we always think about, okay, how many new members do we have joining each month? It makes sense for us to track that on a month-to-month basis. However, if you're thinking about something like a project goal, so let's say I want to launch a new online course, or I need to revamp my website, or I want to get 100 email subscribers to my email list, that might make more sense from a quarterly perspective to actually measure that quarterly versus monthly. So we have both options here, and we can choose which timeline makes the most sense for us based on the goals that we choose. Now, I just want to speak really quickly to this idea of fear and goal setting. I think that fear often comes up when we are setting goals, right? It feels a little scary because there's that feeling attached to it of like, oh no, what if I don't achieve it, right? And one of the most important things that I want you to take away from this session today is that you may only achieve a fraction of your goals, and that is perfectly fine. In fact, that's actually a great thing, because that means that you have set the bar high enough for yourself and you're actively setting the bar higher each time. So I want you to set goals as if you were unafraid of not achieving them. You either achieve a goal or you learn from it. There is absolutely no failure here. Okay, so now let's actually get into the exercise of setting goals in our business. So I typically like to sort business goals into 3 different categories. And the reason why I like to do this is because I think sometimes certain types of goals make more sense based on where you're at in your business. So for example, if you are just getting started in your business, sometimes it doesn't make sense to set a monetary goal because you really have no benchmark, you have no baseline, you're just getting started, you have no idea how long it's going to take to get that first client through the door to start making money. So sometimes it doesn't actually make sense to set a monetary goal right at the beginning. Whereas if you've been in business for a little while and you have a little bit more of that consistent monthly income, it becomes a lot easier to set a monetary goal. So that's why I like to think about other types of goals too. So the first category of goals is client/product goals. The reason why I say client/product is because depending on how your business is structured, some people work one-on-one with clients. Some people sell things like digital products, so like online courses or ebooks, and perhaps they actually don't work with clients one-on-one, so it doesn't really make sense for them to set a number of clients goal. So that's what I'm getting at with this first one. It's, okay, whatever you sell, how many of those do you want to sell by a certain date? So some examples of client or product goals would be like, I want to get 6 clients in the month of February, or I want to sell 3 online courses by the end of February. Number 2, like I mentioned, are monetary goals. And oftentimes monetary goals are a lot easier to set when we're in that intermediate or advanced stage of business, not so much when we're right at the beginning. So for example, I want to make $4,000 of revenue in the month of July. And then lastly, and I love project goals because I think that they are applicable to absolutely all of us. And these are those goals that refer to different projects that you want to accomplish or you want to finish in your business. So for example, I want to finish my website by March 31st, or I want to set up my email list by whatever date, or I want to set up my EMR platform, Practice Better, by whatever date, or I want to, so it refers to those projects in our business. And again, I think that these ones can absolutely apply at every single stage of business. And I also think this is important because sometimes when we get so hung up in the day-to-day stuff, like we're working with clients every single day, sometimes it's hard to take a step back and actually work on our business, right? We're so busy working in our business that we don't take the time to actually work on our business and work on some of those projects that are really going to help us grow, that are going to help us scale, that are going to help us move forward in some capacity. So how do you choose which goals to focus on? And in a minute, we are going to take some time and I'm going to actually have you write out some goals in your business. And I'm going to give you some examples of goals that you can feel free to use. You can feel free to customize based on your stage of business. But how do we choose? Well, at a high level, we want to think to ourselves, what areas do we need to move forward or improve in our business? That's really the question we need to ask ourselves when we're thinking, okay, what goals should I focus on? And so depending on the type of business that you have, if you're a beginner, this might look like, getting your first client, finishing your product, finishing your project that you've been working on. If you're intermediate, this might look a little bit different. Maybe it's about starting to hit those monetary goals, like I mentioned in the last little slide. Maybe it's things around increasing client retention. So how do we ensure that our clients stick with us for longer terms? Maybe it's just starting to build in that consistency within your business. And maybe if you're in the advanced stage, it's taking a step back and thinking about, okay, how do I scale my business? And what are some of those goals that I need to incorporate, that I need to work on in order to get to that next level, in order to really scale my business? Okay, so we are going to take some time right now, and I want you to decide on 2 goals to focus on for the next 3 months. So 2 goals in your business. Now, if you come up with more, that's totally fine. But let's just make sure we have a minimum of 2 goals. And these goals can be within any of those categories. They can be client or product. They can be monetary goals, they can be project goals, whatever is going to be the most impactful for your business. And so on this next slide here, I've given you some examples of goals that you can set within each of these different stages of business. Now, how do you know if you're a beginner? How do you know if you're intermediate? How do you know if you're advanced? That's really just your own feelings around where you're at in your business. There's no hard and fast rule here, but if you haven't gotten a client yet, you're probably in the beginner stage. If you're just getting started, you're definitely in the beginner stage. The intermediate stage is where maybe you've had a handful of clients and you're really looking to build in more consistency to maybe improve your marketing efforts. And then if you're in the advanced stage, you've probably been in practice for a while. You have fairly consistent clients at this point, but you're really more focused on refining some of your processes and really looking into those ideas to be able to scale your business. So right now, we are going to put 5 minutes on the clock, and I want you to pull out a sheet of paper. It can be a sheet of paper, it can be a Google Doc, it can be a Word doc, whatever you want, whatever works best for you. It can be a sticky note, doesn't matter. And we're going to take 5 minutes, and I want you to write out 2 goals from any of the categories listed. And if you have any questions, so I will post these back on the screen so you have these to look at for reference as you're creating your goals. If you have any questions, I am going to put myself on mute for the 5 minutes, but you can absolutely post them in the chat. And if you are feeling brave and if you are willing, once you have written out your goals, I would love for you to post them in the chat. You don't have to put specific numbers if you don't want to. That's totally fine. You could just put, I want to see X clients by this date. That's totally fine. But I would love to have you share them in the chat. All right, I'm going to put 5 minutes on the clock here. I'm going to put myself on mute. Any questions, post them in the chat. All right. Can I just get if you're done, just say done in the chat. Thanks so much to everyone who has put their goals in the chat. And a question came up, which I think is an important one. And it's just this point around how do we make sure that our goals are specific enough? And so I want you to look at your goal and reread it and ask yourself the question, will it be very clear to me that I've either achieved this or not? And if it's not, if it's a little bit blurry, if you're like, I don't really know if I will have achieved this or not, then we need to get more specific with it. So for example, if we're using terms like improve my website or be prepared for this, it's a little bit more blurry in terms of what does being prepared actually look like? How will I know if I'm prepared or not? How will I know if my website has improved, right? It's not a clear-cut yes or no. So what I would instead do, how I would reframe those goals, for the website example, I might say, so if I think to myself, okay, what does improving my website actually mean? Well, perhaps for me, that means revamping all of my website copy. Well, then that becomes the goal, right? It's revamp my website copy by X date. That becomes very clear in terms of whether you've done it or whether you haven't done it. Or the question of be prepared for blank, maybe it's instead thinking about, is there a resource you want to make sure and go through? Are there a number of practice questions or practice tests that you want to make sure that you go through? Maybe you're wanting to be prepared for a speaking gig that you have. How many times do you want to review your deck? When do you want to have your deck done by, your slide deck done by, right? Those are very clear in terms of whether you've done it or you haven't done it. And so look at your goals and just ask yourself the question, will it be super clear to me whether I've done it or not? Can I give this a clear yes or a no at the end of that timeline? So I hope that is, yeah, okay, good. Oh, Chris, I love that. Notable that we didn't need hours and hours to do this. 5 minutes, we'll just get you started. Love that. Awesome. Yeah, 100%. Totally. Does that make more sense for folks who were wondering just around making our goals more specific? Any other questions, feel free to post them in the chat. But at the end of the day, we just want to make sure we are able to say, yes, I've done it, or no, I haven't. And if that's going to be a little bit blurry, then we want to get more specific. Okay, so that's where a lot of people stop when it comes to goal setting, right? We say, okay, I am going to get X number of clients by this date. And then in reality, the thing that actually translates a goal into action is the systems around that goal. And the concept of systems around the goal is not something that I came up with. I think, I'm not sure where it came from originally, but if you haven't read the book Atomic Habits, it's a fantastic book that really breaks down the idea of setting a goal and then creating systems in your life to make sure that goal actually happens. But in the context of your business, I like to think about, okay, so we have that goal, and now we need to break that goal down into milestones to actually achieve it, right? We need to think through that process. Okay, well, if I want to improve the copy on my website, what does that actually mean for me? What do I actually have to do in order to get there? So we're going to take this a step further. And this is really where goal setting starts to come alive in your business and actually starts to be really effective, is when we do this step 2, because often we finish at step 1. And then our goals sit in our notebook beside our computer forever, and they never see the light of day, right? I've been there before. And so we want to make sure we take this step 2. So when we set a goal, think about what is the path in order to be able to achieve that goal. So getting our first client or getting 5 clients by X date doesn't just mean that we sit back and we wait for them to knock on our door, right? We need to be active in this process, and we need to think strategically, how am I going to achieve it? So what does this look like? Well, I'm going to run you through a couple of examples here of how we take a goal and then break it down into those specific action items so that we actually achieve it. And then as a step 3 to this, which we'll talk about in a minute, is we actually take these action steps and we map them out in our calendar. We put them straight into our calendar so that we know that they are going to happen. So for example, I will get 6 clients by March 31st. Let's say that that is your goal. Well, if I think to myself, well, okay, how am I going to get these 6 clients? At the end of the day, it really comes down to, well, I'm going to need to market myself, right? I'm going to need to talk about my business. I'm going to need to get out there. And so what are some of those things that I can do in order to market myself? So some of those action steps might involve, well, okay, I feel like I'm a little unclear on marketing strategy. So I need to improve my, my knowledge a little bit at the beginning. So I'm going to start by doing some learning on marketing strategy. Maybe I'm going to listen to a podcast. Maybe I am going to take a course. Maybe I'm going to enroll in a platform like Dietitian Success Center, for instance. Number 2, from there, I'm going to then develop a marketing strategy. And then from there, well, I know I'm going to need to post on Instagram more often because I know that that's where my ideal client is. So let's increase the Instagram posts a little bit. And I'm going to start posting on Instagram 3 times a week. I'm going to make a list of community contacts and potential partners. I'm going to draft an email to reach out to community contacts, to reach out to friends, to reach out to family. And I am going to send out that email to community contacts, friends, and family. I am going to follow up with community contacts, friends, and family. So this is essentially where we are doing a bit of a brainstorm session to say, okay, what do I need to do in order to make sure this happens? And you might not know clearly what you need to do. Probably you won't, right? This is going to be an uncomfortable exercise where you're like, I feel like I'm throwing spaghetti at the wall a little bit, but that's okay. That's part of this learning process. That's part of setting goals, right? If we achieve the goal, well, hey, we know that our process worked. If we didn't, okay, then there's a little bit of tweaking that needs to happen. So we want to take that goal and we want to break it down into those action steps. If you have a monetary goal, and by the way, you can just take screenshots because I know I'm going through these quite quickly. Just take a screenshot of this slide here if you want to use this as your own action plan for achieving your goal. But let's say you set a monetary goal. So for example, in March, I will make $5,000 in revenue. Well, first things first, I need to understand, how am I going to make that happen? How many clients do I have to get in order to reach that financial goal? Well, if I want to reach that financial goal, then maybe I need some more clients. And so I'm going to increase my marketing frequency. Maybe I'm going to supplement that one-on-one with a little bit of freelance or a little bit of consulting work. Maybe I'm going to reach out to past organizations that I've worked with and see if I can drum up a little bit of business there. Maybe I'm going to follow up with all past clients to rebook. Maybe I'm going to talk more about my business in order to get more clients through the door. Maybe I'm going to host a free webinar to increase my visibility. These are all things that we could potentially do in order to increase revenues in our business. A couple questions in the chat just around whether you will have access to the recording. Yes, you will. The recording will be sent out. Is that correct, Brittany? Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You're going to get it in your email inboxes.
Cool. Okay. So there will be a recording after, so you can feel free and go back through this section. A project goal. Now the project goals are going to be different depending on the project that you're working on, but we want to think to ourselves, okay, so what are maybe some of the steps that I need to do in order to achieve this goal? And so let's say that I'm wanting to launch an online course by February 28th. Well, I need to start by developing a course outline, understanding what exactly I'm going to be talking about, the structure, the pricing. Maybe I'm going to run a focus group just to see if this course idea resonates with people. Maybe I will pick a course hosting platform. Practice Better is an option as a course hosting platform, mapping out the course curriculum, recording and uploading the course, creating the sales page, planning out the launch, and launching the course. We want to think through all of these different components so that we can actually see if our deadline is realistic for us. Because maybe I haven't even started this process yet, and I'm sitting here thinking, well, I can't do all of this by the 28th. That's okay. I'm going to extend my deadline a little bit. So the moral of the story here is we want to take that goal setting a step further, and we want to break it down into those specific action steps that need to happen in order to make that goal happen. And then we want to actually put these action steps or these milestones into our calendar. We want to schedule them in so that they actually happen. Now, you can use a pen and paper calendar or planner, whatever you want. I just recommend that you use pencil so that you can change it as things happen, as things change, as you learn more information. You can use Google Calendar, you can use iCal. I personally use a program called ClickUp, which is basically a task management platform. You can map out your month and you can assign different tasks to different dates. Yeah, Stacy loves ClickUp as well. Awesome. There's so many different ways that you can do this. So for example, if we go back to our marketing example, this is what it might look like when we actually put it into our calendar. So we're saying, okay, I want to post more frequently on social media. I want to make a list of community contacts. I want to reach out to all of these people. Well, I'm going to actually put dates to all of these different tasks to make sure that they actually happen in my business. So this is what it looks like when I would do something like this. This is just a screenshot from ClickUp just to show you what a platform like that looks like. All right, so definitely still open to questions around action steps, around breaking down your goal into action steps. Feel free to post them in the chat. Feel free to email me at the end of the session. If you want some feedback, I'm going to pass it over to Brittany to talk a little bit about goal setting with Practice Better. And then we're going to bring it back and we're going to talk about setting our word for the year.
Awesome. That was such great info and has really inspired kind of the next portion of this webinar, which is to talk about where Practice Better really fits into all of this. So my hope with the next kind of section is that whether you're new to Practice Better or you're already on the platform, you're going to learn some really helpful workflows and little tips and tricks within the platform that's going to help you create systems in your business that is going to allow you to come up with these business goals from a place of true insight. So you're not just kind of making it up out of the top of your head, you're kind of relying on some true business metrics, and then some great tips on how you can go off and start to work on those goals and achieve them in Practice Better. So, by no means comprehensive what we'll be talking about because everyone's goals are going to be different, but I hope will spark some ideas. So we're going to do a little switcheroo here. I'm going to share my screen with you so that we can take a look at the platform. Hopefully you can all see my screen. I'm sure you can. And I wanted to kind of piggyback on those great categories that Krista set up for us in this kind of working session. So thinking about the client goals, thinking about the monetary goals, and the project goals. So starting off with the client goals, I think it's really important to have a baseline. So again, we're rooting our goals in something that's concrete. And maybe you're brand new to a platform like Practice Better. So this is something to kind of keep in mind for if you do set up the platform, the potential of it. And if you are on the platform, great, you can start to immediately implement some of what I'm going to show you. So first and foremost, when we're thinking about client goals, a lot of us are going to have the goal to increase the number of clients that we're working with. So I wanted to show you exactly how we can start to come up with that baseline. So I'm in the platform right now. I'm on that homepage that I see as a practitioner, and I'm going to navigate to my clients and to the view all button here. And this is going to bring me to a page of my clients. And I want to immediately kind of draw your attention to this little number up at the top here. So at a glance, when I go over to this page, I can see the all clients number here. So that number attached, I can see that I'm starting off in January 2023 with 29 clients. Bear in mind that everything that you see in this demo today is from my demo account, so not real metrics. And certainly you'll see Mary Smith is in the action. She's a part of it all. She's my demo client. But I also want to show you that as you're starting to kind of think about where your baseline is and this benchmark that you're starting with, you can also search in the platform by status. So if you actually want to have a true idea of the number of active clients that you're seeing, if you want to have an idea of, the deactivated clients so that you can break down that number of all clients, you can absolutely do so. And then you can further filter things out. So if you want to see by a certain date, if you want to compare to say, from 2022, you can start to really refine how you organize your client list so that when you are coming up with a client-based goal, it feels very, reasonable and feasible for what you're already been working with. So again, this is going to look different if you're a beginner, if you're kind of intermediate or advanced in your business, but these systems are really going to help. And that might be where you start. However, the addition of tags can really help take it one step further. So you can see I have lots of examples in this left-hand column of tags that I've set up in this demo account. And maybe you want to have a look at a little bit more granular for your client goals. So like Krista said, getting very specific is going to help us come up with the systems and process to achieve those goals. So maybe rather than saying that I want 10 more clients this first quarter of 2023, maybe I want to break that down a little bit further and say that in the first quarter here, I want to enroll 10 clients in my programs. So I could have more than one program, or maybe I want them to actually be in packages. So I can start to get a little bit more specific here. So I'm going to quickly run you through how setting this tags up. So easy. You're just going to hit the create new tag button. You can label the tag. So whatever you want to kind of measure as far as the volume of clients and understanding who's who in your business. You can also assign it a color so that it's nice and easy visually when you're looking at your list of clients. And then we can also take things one step further by setting up an automation. So in Practice Better, we have this whole kind of feature designated or, designed to automate day-to-day tasks to help kind of save you time in your day-to-day. And once you figure out that metric for your client goal, we can go ahead and automate the delivery of that tag so it's not a manual process for you. So I'm going to take this little red fast action button in the bottom right-hand corner. We're going to hit that. And we are going to select, let's see here, add, update, or remove client tags. And then I'm going to name it. I always choose to name this with something pretty plain so that I know exactly what it is. And that's really helpful as we start to get more and more automations within the Practice Better platform. So I'm just going to call this assign program tag to clients enrolling in any program. I'm going to select the trigger. So let's say this one here, anytime a client registers for a program, and I can go and select the programs. So again, if you have a more granular look at a certain goal with clients, you want to see a certain program, more clients in that. Maybe overall, you want to see more clients in programs because you're strapped for time and it's becoming harder and harder for you to work with one-on-one clients. This could be a way of kind of keeping your finger on the pulse of exactly how you're tracking towards those goals, because you can very easily go and see that measurement. So again, I have lots of programs. Because this is my demo account, you might not have that many. Select any that apply. We're going to add the action. We want to add the tag. We'll hit program clients. So now anytime any client enrolls in any of my programs, they'll automatically be assigned that program tag. So if I set the goal for the quarter that I want to see 10 more clients in my programs, I can always track that goal by just going to this tag in my client view. So I wanted to kind of give you that tip for setting up these systems in the platform that's going to make tracking your goals easy, and also understanding kind of the baseline when you are reiterating on your goals or revising them as time progresses. All right, you can then start to do things like attract new clients. So of course, when we're setting those client goals, the goal oftentimes is getting more clients, exposure to our business, and understanding who we are and what we offer. So I wanted to show you an idea or a couple of ideas, plant them in your brains, something like a free workshop. So something like we're doing today is very easily facilitated through the Practice Better platform. So I'm just going to show you here that under my practice, when I go to my services, when I'm using this little red fast action button, you'll find that's often in the bottom right-hand corner of many Practice Better pages, and it will always have the main functionalities. I can see that I can add a service, and I can choose for it to be a one-on-one or a group class or service. So I've gone ahead and already created this group class or service, and I've called it my sleep hygiene workshop. So if I wanted to, have this free workshop to bring prospective clients into my business that I can then continue to communicate with and nurture, I can very easily schedule a session and then start to market out that workshop. I can integrate it with my Zoom so that I can have multiple clients on the call. Again, exactly kind of like what we're doing today, where we can run them through this workshop and start to deliver that value for a very kind of low cost or free to bring in prospective clients. So there's kind of one idea of how you can start to attract new clients into your business. The other idea that I love suggesting to our users is running something like a 5-day free challenge through our programs feature. So this is a really great way of giving people kind of a taste of the benefit and the value that you offer, again, without it being too much of a financial investment off the hop for a client. So you can see here that I've got a few different examples from the 5-day hormone balancing challenge, the 5-day mindful eating challenge, and the 5-day sleep hygiene challenge. So, come up with one that resonates with your niche, and you can build it out within Practice Better so that each day of the challenge is its own module. And you can run clients through something that is going to be, say, a quick win, and going to deliver them, like I said, the value so that hopefully they'll convert to being more of a paid client with you. So we're not going to go too far into the actual setup of these things because frankly, we just don't have the time today, but we have tons of resources on what it looks like to actually set up programs, 5-day challenges, lead magnets within the Practice Better platform. And I'll share lots of resources with you at the end of where you can go to actually find those things. But for now, I just want to kind of show you the potential of how you can start to attract new clients and Practice Better, whether that's through something like a free workshop or something like a 5-day free challenge facilitated through our programs feature. All right, I want to move on now to the monetary goal. So of course, this is going to look very different for each of us depending on where we're at in our business. But again, I think it's really important for us to understand a baseline. So again, if you're just starting in Practice Better, this might be something that you're looking to set up and know about for the future. But if you're already on Practice Better, using the reports can be a great place to gather insights for your business to help you establish those goals, including things like your revenue and how much you're actually collecting through the platform by offering your services, packages, programs, etc. And that's why it's really nice to have everything in one place, because when you are running these reports, you have a really comprehensive look at your business rather than having to compile information from various different pieces of software or tech. So I'm going to actually show you here in the billing section of the reports, the payment history. Now, mine might look a little dismal. Again, that's because this is my demo account. Let's go to something that maybe looks a little bit nicer. So you can see here that I've got this great report that I can see the revenue that I've generated in my business. I have the gross amount here, the number of payments that I've collected, and the number of clients billed. Poor Mary Smith, she's really on the hook here for a lot. And I can also start to use these options here on the left to further refine the report and really get a close look at how things have compared and tracked. So if I am looking to look at a year's past and how it's tracking compared to this year to see if I have improved, maybe I'm looking to increase my revenue by 10%, or maybe I'm looking to hit a certain monthly goal, I can really start to hone in on the time period and also compare it with another time period. So I can have that comparison to see that I'm, even if I'm not achieving the exact goal that I set out, am I still improving? So those things can be really insightful. So I certainly wanted to draw your attention to this report within Practice Better, and also let you know that this is, you can download it, you can save it so that you can always come back to this specific report that you're running. So then once you are ready to make it happen, you've kind of done your due diligence of finding those insights within the platform, and now you're ready to hit the ground running so that you can actually start to achieve those goals. I want to tell you how you can use Practice Better to achieve multiple streams of income. All right, the pains of working from home. So we have lots of different ways that you can achieve this within Practice Better. So let's take a look at the services here. Oftentimes as practitioners, we are offering one-on-one sessions, but I want to highlight the fact that within Practice Better, you can also take those one-on-one sessions and bundle them together so that you have packages. So if you're, been a practitioner for a while, or even, you're just starting out, you likely know that oftentimes it takes a little while to move the needle and help clients achieve their goals. And that's where packages can come in really handy. So you can bundle those services together so that you can see here, I have a 3-month package that I can start to sell. And I can even break this down into payment plans. So if it is a larger fee, to make it more accessible to more people, break it down into a payment plan so that I can attract more customers and make this more achievable for people. I also want to highlight before I move on and just share an idea with you here. You'll see that when you're setting up your package or any of the services within Practice Better, you'll have the opportunity to use this redirect URL. And I think this is a fantastic opportunity to offer an upsell. So I can actually link one of my other offerings in Practice Better so that when someone does purchase the 3-month package, they'll automatically be redirected to another one of my offerings or services that maybe complements what they've already purchased. And maybe there's an opportunity to add a little bit more revenue for the people that do take me up on that offer. So in this instance, what I've done is I've linked my meal prep club. So an opportunity for someone who's doing the 3-month program to have an abundance of different meal plans and recipes to batch cook and meal prep. So something that's going to enable their success. And it's evergreen. It's not additional work for me because it's something that I have kind of running on in the background. So just an idea for you as we're thinking about ways to start to collect more revenue and hit those monetary goals within the platform. The other idea that I want to share with you, let's actually take a look at that meal prep club. I'm going to head to my programs here. And then I'm going to scroll down to the meal prep club. So what I want to highlight from this particular example here, I'm going to just go to edit the program, is that this is an evergreen style program. We have 3 different styles within Practice Better: a fixed date, which is more based on calendar date. So something like February 1st to February 21st. We have evergreen, which is more based on time elapsed. And then we have self-paced, so more self-directed. But what I want to highlight from this particular example of an evergreen program is that when I've set it up with my payments, I have selected ongoing payments. So we have 2 different styles to choose from within Practice Better, and this ongoing payments option is like a monthly membership. So if you have content or resources or a certain type of support that can be relatively passive or hands-off for you as the practitioner, this is a fantastic way of offering a new stream of income in a way that's going to be manageable for you and your limited finite time as a practitioner. So this meal prep club acts as a monthly membership for my clients, and that's why it acts also as a perfect upsell. So you can see here that I have selected that. And when I go back into my modules here, how I've set this up is really simplistic. I have one module that has, recipe books and grocery lists so that the clients can, read about what we're going to be cooking and prepping that week. And then I've actually attached the recipe book and the grocery list. And that's something that as the practitioner, I can either come up with myself, I could maybe work with another platform like that Clean Life and very easily generate those PDFs and update this. Once, we're moving on to a new week, I can take that content and add it to the archive so that there's always incentive for new people to be signing up. They're not missing out on anything if they join late. So that's another idea. Lots of different opportunities to add a membership style offering in a whole variety of ways, but certainly something that I wanted to put on your radar. And I will say, like, programs are just another thing that we're so proud of at Practice Better, because it really enables our practitioners to maximize the potential of their time. So again, I just mentioned that our time is finite as practitioners, and as you get more clients and you get more advanced into your business, you'll certainly start to feel this. But this is a great way that you can start to work with more clients in a way that you can kind of maximize on the potential of your time. So like I said, we have 3 different styles of programs, including the fixed date, the self-directed, and the evergreen. So something that you can explore if you're ready to shift from one-on-one work to working with groups. Another idea for you, there's so many, is working with protocols. Specifically, I wanted to talk about the opportunity to diversify your income and add an additional income stream with one of our integration partners, which is Fullscript. So Fullscript, we partner with them. We also partner with other online dispensaries, and you can start to add supplement recommendations into your client protocols, whether they are for your one-on-one clients or for, your group programs. And if you're familiar with Fullscript, you're able to, take a margin of what you're selling for supplements. So something to kind of keep in mind, that you can kind of double up from a client who's paying for your services, but you can also start to incorporate things like supplement recommendations, where you're able to also collect a bit of revenue from there. All right. That's lots of ideas for you. I hope that sparked some ideas. If any of those kind of resonated with you or you're interested in exploring them, I'd love to kind of see in the chat which ones stuck out to you and which ones you'd be interested in trying in your own business, or maybe you're already trying some of these things. So let me know in the chat from all of those examples that I just shared, which ones kind of stuck out to you. Next, let's talk about projects. So this is kind of the third category that Krista spoke about. And first and foremost, I want to mention that Practice Better, we're really dedicated to your success. That is something that as a Practice Better employee, I'm so proud of how dedicated we are to the success of our community. We have a really large and growing collection of content that we curate and put together to assist practitioners in optimizing their businesses. So an event like today, we have a whole host of articles on our blog, help articles in our help center. We have YouTube, tons of different videos, both short form and long form content for you to learn how to optimize the platform. We also have an exclusive community for our paid members on Facebook, where you get to connect with other practitioners, share ideas, workflows. So when it does come to thinking about a project, whether it's social media or revamping your website or starting to think about the types of offerings that you're putting together, just know that we have so many resources dedicated to your support to help you make those things happen. But what I specifically wanted to talk about in this instance, when Krista was talking, what really stood out to me was this idea of taking imperfect action. Oftentimes, we have to kind of launch before we're ready and iterate on that before we have this perfectly polished final product. So I wanted to point out that when we're thinking about programs in Practice Better, we can absolutely start to do that. I wanted to share an idea with you of how you can establish that baseline and really refine your project kind of on the go. So of course, this is going to depend on your personality type, and if you're the kind of person that's comfortable putting things out there before they're perfectly ready to go. But I wanted to show you how easy it is to do something like a beta test program. So enrollments and courses can begin before you have everything built. And, it is in that spirit of taking imperfect action where you can then revise, edit, and duplicate. So very easy here when I hit the more options button to duplicate it and continue to edit the content that I already have. So let's talk about an idea here that hopefully you can put into motion. You can see here that in the programs feature, I have a self-paced program called 60 Days to Clear Skin, and this is my beta offering, meaning this is kind of the first iteration of it. This is the one that I need to make sure is good to bring to market. So I'm going to call upon my community to help me test it, to help me refine it so that I can polish it up and then bring it to market. So I want to share with you here when I edit the program that I have chosen to make this one a pretty low fee offering. You could choose to make this even lower. I would say, you're making it like 25% or whatever it is of your final product with the incentive that, or I guess the caveat that the people that are going to go through this, they're going through the beta version and they're also going to help you provide feedback so that you can take that and apply it into the final product. So, you can start to put it in motion, get the outline, get the content together, and then when you're ready, bring it to your beta users. You could call upon your existing clients, your family and friends, bring it to your social media, put out a call to action that you're looking for people to test your program for a highly discounted price. And then what I've also done for this beta version is I've added this separate module here called Your Feedback. And your feedback, these modules are going to be very simple. They're going to be using the custom form builder within Practice Better, where I've designed a form to collect their feedback about what they think of the program. So I could choose to do this, really based on the first week, or I could do something more holistic about the whole program. So you can decide how you want to actually collect that feedback, what makes the most sense for you. Is it based on the module or the time frame or the overall program? But you can certainly go to the form builder within Practice Better. I'll just quickly show you an idea here of how I've incorporated this. So I've created this form here called the 60 Days to Clear Skin Tester Feedback Form. It's just got some information about, the length of it, whether they saw improvements, did they like the level of support, whatever it is, right? Like the beta version might be a condensed version of what you'll put out as the final product, but you can reflect properly in that form, the type of information that you want to collect. And then all I've done for that specific module in my beta tester program is I've just added those forms directly to it. So you can see here when I go to this module in the Forms and Worksheets tab, I have the feedback survey. So there's really no other content that I've added to this module. So what I really like about this is that when I have my beta testers go through and fill out those feedback forms, I can also go to my reports. So I love that these two features are speaking together within the platform very intuitively without me having to navigate to a bunch of places. And I can pull up the specific report called Form Response Summary. Okay, so this is a report that is going to condense all of the different forms that have all the different submissions of a specific form. So I'm going to go down to that 60 Days to Clear Skin feedback form, submit it here, and I can see that I've received 4 responses. There's 9 questions. People have completely filled out the form, and I can start to look at the completed forms. So I've got this word cloud here, so I can start to see that people have used specific words that are going to, pop up bigger the more people that have actually used those specific words. And then I can start to hone in on what they said. So I can say 60 days felt like the right time to commit to my skin. 60 days felt like the right time to make actual progress. So 60 days seems like I'm on track for this final iteration of my program. I can start to see here the same idea, click into this to start to read more responses. So you can see that I don't have to go into the individual client's profile to see their responses. I have everyone's responses in this neat and tidy report where I can start to take that feedback and apply it into that final version of the 60 Days to Clear Skin. So once I have had my beta testers through, they've given me their feedback, I can very easily go in to edit that final product. And this is where I'm going to, charge the full price for the program. So I'm going to increase that price. I'm going to come up with a full marketing launch plan for this and actually bring it to market. So as we're thinking about projects and the ones that we are looking to achieve in our business, I want to say how easy it is to reiterate and edit and revise and duplicate things within the platform. But I also want to inspire you to actually involve your community of clients to help you refine and learn from them, because of course, they're going to speak in a certain language. They're going to probably have great feedback for you to instill within your business. Last thing that I want to share with you before we wrap up and get to the last section of today is Krista mentioned, the importance of writing down your goal, whether it's pen and paper or in your calendar, a project management platform like ClickUp. I do want to highlight we have this task section within Practice Better. So if this is helpful to you, know that you can kind of create this little to-do list or this little section here within Practice Better to help keep yourself on track. You can tie it to a certain client or you can just kind of leave it general. But just wanted to kind of let you know that that exists for you as well. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that Krista can actually share with us and we can go through our last exercise here of coming up with our word. So bear with me just a second here. All right, Krista, you should be able to share your screen and go through our words for 2023.
All right. So thanks so much, Brittany. We are going to wrap up with one final activity here. This is a really fun one, and then we'll share a bunch of free tools, free resources for you all. And this is an exercise that I started doing a couple years ago. And it's so simple, but I feel like it really helps to give you focus for the coming year. And so I call it the word of the year. And you can do it for your business. You can do it for you personally, whatever you feel like resonates more with you. But the question here being, how do you want to feel in the upcoming year? What is one word to represent your wish for the upcoming year, your intention for the upcoming year? And I think that this word is so impactful because it's something to come back to when we're making decisions in our business. It almost acts like that guiding compass when we're thinking about which direction to take, how to navigate a situation. So for me, and I'll share with you my words of the year over the past, 4 years that I've been doing this. So my 2020 word of the year, 2020 was when I first launched my business. And so my word of the year, and by the way, on the next slide, I'm going to share with you a bunch of examples of words so that you don't have to just come up with one on your own. I'll share with you some examples for inspiration. But my word of the year for 2020 was bold, because I know that when we're at the very beginning stages of our business, and sometimes this trickles into the later stages of our business, there's a lot of fear around getting outside of our comfort zones, around saying yes to new opportunities that are unfamiliar, being unafraid of carving your own path. And so 2020 was bold. 2021, my word was focus, because I had, after my first year of business, I'd really found myself in a position, and perhaps you can relate to this, where you've said yes to so many things and you have so many different projects going on and so many different priorities. It all feels a little overwhelming, and there's really a need to streamline and simplify in order to get to that next level. 2022, my focus for the year was really around scaling my business. And so my word was abundance. And then in 2023, we are actually back to focus, but I would say focus means something a little bit different for me this time. And it really means we've simplified, and now we're really simplifying. And I think I have a better understanding of what that looks like and what that means for me at this point in my business. So just to share with you my own word, so some examples of words that you could choose, but hey, choose whatever word you want. There's absolutely no right or wrong answer here. Your word of the year might be brave. It might be content. It might be challenge, bold, balance, confidence, commitment, authenticity, fearless, discipline, patience, leadership, grace, gratitude, breath, positivity, action, discomfort, growth, whatever resonates the most with you. And by the way, if you're stuck on this, you can always just Google a list of, or you can just Google coming up with your word for the year. And there's a number of different blog posts related to this topic with a number of different word ideas. But we would love to know, what is your word for the year? If you are feeling brave, please post it in the chat. We would love to hear from you, but also take a picture of so write your word on a sticky note or a piece of paper, wherever works best for you. Take a picture of it and tag us on Instagram at Dietitian Success Center and at Practice Better.
I want to share too, for anyone that does go forward with this and tags both of us, so shares your word and tags Dietitian Success Center and Practice Better, you'll be entered to win 3 months on Practice Better. So a little incentive for you to put yourself out there and share with the community what your word is. And we'll be pulling someone to win that prize.
Awesome. All right. So to summarize, here are some action steps for you, and feel free to take a screenshot of this instead of frantically writing them down. So setting your 2 business goals, writing them on sticky notes, a piece of paper, anywhere. I love sticky notes, and I actually love to put them beside my workstation so that I can see my goals every single day, so that, again, they don't die in the middle of my notebook where I never see them ever again. And then we're taking that goal setting step one step further, and we're coming up with those action steps, breaking down those goals into action steps and mapping them out in our calendar. And then define your word for the year and take a picture of your sticky note or your piece of paper and tag us on Instagram. So thank you all so much for joining. I'm going to share a couple of freebies in a second, but feel free to reach out to me at any point. Krista at dietitiansuccesscenter.com or at Dietitian Success Center. I would absolutely love to hear from you. Like I mentioned, we are offering a 7-day free trial to Dietitian Success Center for those who have attended the call. I'll just post the link in the chat, or you can take a picture of the QR code on the screen. This offer does expire January 31st. So if you're interested in giving DSC a try, then make sure and take advantage of this over the next week, over the next couple of days. We also have a bunch of great free tools as well on our site. So we have a free client resource kit, nutrition client resource kit. So a collection of 5 handouts that you can just use directly with your clients. We have a business planning workbook. We have all sorts of things. So I will post the link for our freebies in the chat as well. And I will pass it back to Brittany.
Awesome. All right. So just again, thank you so much for being here. We always appreciate your participation and your willingness to show up and learn with us. That's what makes this job so much fun. We do have a 14-day free trial. So if you are curious about anything that I showed you in the platform today, or you're just ready to start getting those systems up and running to help take your business to the next level, you can just scan that QR code and it will take you to Practice Better to get that 14-day free trial signed up. I will share with you that you can switch plans during that 14-day free trial. So if you want to get a feel for the starter plan, plus plan, you can kind of navigate between plans during that time. We also want to help you get started. So there is a discount code for those of you who are new to the platform or just getting started for the first time. You can use the code PB Goals, and that's going to save you 30% for 3 months on any of our paid plans. So I definitely hope to see you there, and keep in mind that we do have that Facebook group for our paid members to kind of build that sense of community, brainstorm together, share workflows. We see people sharing resources like forms and ideas all the time. So we'd love to see you there. Otherwise, yeah, we'll say thank you again for joining, and we will be sharing all of this again in the replay with you.
Thanks, everyone. It was so good to see you all. It was so good to meet you all. Thanks so much for attending.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.